The goal for the day really was to get you to understand the stage you're at, and then based on that, really set goals to get you to your next stage milestones. And so, hopefully, after Julia's session, you have a fairly clear understanding of your stage. And based on that, what are the next milestones that you need to hit, either from a fundraising standpoint or a sustainable revenue standpoint? So essentially, there's two paths that a startup can take. One is to raise venture capital, and with that, or let's just call it external financing, because this could be a friends and family round for you at this point. But what comes with that is expectations of a next raise if you are burning more than you are making. So why is that important? Because that basically means that if you don't raise another round, at some point you will run out of money, right? And your company dies. So there is a term called runway, which is basically how long do you have based on your current burn to raise your next round of capital so that your company continues to survive and grow. That's if you take the venture capital route. The second route is, which is very rare but very powerful. It's harder to do while growing rapidly. If you get to a point where your revenues are the same as your expenses, then it puts you in a very solid position as a startup from a negotiating standpoint, because you don't need the money anymore. So you can raise more on your own terms if you're still growing rapidly. It's important to understand and know what route you're going after and plan accordingly. Most startups fail because of two things. One is you run out of money, but also very commonly you run out of energy. In a separate session, we're going to talk about emotional fitness, but really want to highlight that managing the founding team and executive team to perform at the highest level while making sure you have money in the bank. These are the two most important things that a startup needs to do. John Doerr wrote a book called Measure What Matters, which is a phenomenal read. If you haven't read it, would highly recommend reading it. This is something that'll be useful for life. One of the most important things is the more clarity and focus you have in your professional goals, the higher the quality of what you focus on. So there's a great Steve Jobs quote where he basically says that he's more proud of the things that he's said no to than the things he's done. We're going to create OKRs for your startup for the next month and 3 months that either focus on a path that gets you to your next milestones, to either raise your next set of funding or to get to revenue sustainability. I feel like every startup founder has 10 ideas every day. And what's really difficult is to execute on one that you can make work. That is really, really difficult to do it in a way that changes the world in some shape or form. And basically, this book allows you to focus on execution and clearly set objectives and associated results with those objectives to get there. Several companies have had success using this methodology, including Intel was one of the first pioneers. That's one. Google, we have Amazon, Bill Gates Foundation, LinkedIn. Several of these companies basically use OKRs to manage operations and to execute. So what are they really? It's a management methodology that helps the company to clearly focus efforts on the same important issues across the entire organization. So let's talk about what is an objective. It basically defines what is to be achieved, nothing more, nothing less. And in terms of making sure that you're defining objectives, they're significant, which means that they matter, they're concrete, they're action oriented, and if you do them well, they're also inspirational. OKRs are meant to be push you to stretch goals. If you hit 60 to 70% of your company's OKRs, you should be doing well. And if you hit 100%, means you're absolutely crushing it. So 60 to 70% gets you to your next stage milestones. Things are on a wonderful growth path. And so that's the way to view it when you're setting them. The key results are how you benchmark and as well as monitor how to get to the objectives. And they're specific, time bound, aggressive, but also realistic. And most of all, they're verifiable. So it should never be the case that you cannot measure or you cannot verify one of your key results. And the way to think about it when you're writing them out is to complete this sentence: we will achieve a certain objective as measured by the following key results. Why is this important? Why do we do this? Why do all these companies do this? One is it allows you to focus and commit to priorities. It allows you to align and connect for teamwork. So there's complete transparency. And if you have a set for your startup, then quite often you empower your team members to understand what they can contribute towards and how they can contribute towards that. So as a startup team, everyone knows each other really well and you play to your strengths really well. But particularly as your team grows, you might not know every skill, expertise, or network connection that someone has. Sometimes that one network connection that nobody knows is a game changer for one goal. So if it's a particular partner that you're looking for, and if it's clearly defined within OKRs, and if someone in a globally distributed team can get you that first call to get that partnership conversation going, that's a game changer. But this person is empowered when it's very clear, this is what we're going after, this is how we're going to do it. And particularly as your team scales, your track for accountability is, it's all transparent. Everyone is held accountable to their respective OKRs. It provides focus and clarity to the entire team. I can tell you very honestly, for us, as you saw, Bonbilo's team is quite small for being active across multiple countries, running boot camps across multiple countries. We've largely achieved this because we really have very clearly defined OKRs. If it doesn't fit in there, we just don't do it. And it's that level of prioritization that allows you to make progress as a small team with sort of limited resources. This is a quick table summarizing how is this different from management by objectives, which was an older, more typically used methodology across larger companies. And what's important here is OKRs define the what and the how. The results that you define that you're going after provide the how as well. It should never be the case that you hit your results, but your objective is not hit. So if you have one, two, three sort of key results that you're looking to hit, if you hit those, your objective must definitely be hit. So it's meant to be comprehensive. And the time frame is typically shorter, monthly and quarterly, compared to MBOs, which are set on a yearly basis. OKRs are public and transparent across your entire team. MBOs are typically more siloed. And the massive difference is that your goals are not set only top down. So it's not like the CEO says that this is what the company's goals are and this is what everyone's going to do. The CEO basically sets the company's OKRs, and then typically there's a split between what comes from the founder CEO versus what you can contribute towards, and that's a conversation. But it basically empowers the team to be like, hey, I can go after this. This is something that I can contribute towards. So just want to stress that it's not related to compensation, which is what allows you to set aggressive goals to go after. Next slide to kind of summarize best practices with setting them is maximum 3 to 5 per cycle allows teams to focus on what matters most. And I would really say for a startup, for a cycle, like 1 to 3, because your teams are small, you're more resource constrained, and sometimes one OKR is kind of enough for the startup at a particular time and stage, and generally sort of up to 3 works well. If you have to extend to 5, then a max of 5. Set goals from the bottom up to promote engagement. Teams as well as individual members should be encouraged to create roughly half of their OKRs. It's a cooperative social contract. The one very important thing here is you're in a startup. You're in the stage where you're kind of either validating your value proposition or you're figuring out product market fit. And it's meant to be iterative. You're meant to learn from your customer and to take that learning and continue to build something that adds value to their lives. And your OKRs from last month or last quarter may not be relevant with new learning that comes in from your customer. The most important thing is that you have to be very flexible, very nimble to change OKRs when it makes sense to do so. So if you have a new learning, then you need to be able to act on that very quickly and say, all right, these OKRs are useless and we're going to switch them up right now.